Yad abene shal kahas sinlo shik no tlinigi abek ahit au kodod ya hewin zini benna ya kwal habe nahot ko beshpan sa anani tlinigi ya kodo di beni beach ya kodo la ya but ko il neto le benanish la do be ultra lagi benache ako the queen ha dan sheet ya akot au shana neshish on kahol ji selin ko Chinley High School aje sha ultra the quishina khaiselin benache ade chinen linigi lat ya betel khada hasin selin ado unda hashil so amado ajat and linigi to tan sehi da ya hota betel khada hasin do kunzate atik ada hiti nido khada honil zeno kunzaten hilta khwel jishin le ako kodod ya shnalen linigi ya hewin zinigi kodo beche koti schlichen son ako ya Rodessa Boni. So if you can come up, Desi is her nickname. She's always been known as Desi, and she is here with her parents, her sibling, her family as well. And so this morning I'd like to go ahead and recognize her. She has earned her doctoral in occupational therapy and from the University of North Dakota, and she received her doctoral on May 11, 2024. Before that, she did also receive her Associates of Science degree at Diné College, and then from there she moved on to Fort Lewis College, where she earned her Bachelor's of Science degree. So this morning, I'd like to recognize her and provide her with a certificate of recognition. The certificate is proudly presented to Dr. Rodessa Boni from Chinley, Arizona, for her dedication and mission in making a positive impact on the lives of children and families by providing support, essential services that empower young individuals within her community, our community, and this award is presented to her on the 23rd of October, 2024. Congratulations, job well done. I'm very proud of you, and I know you will succeed and provide all the essential service that is needed. You know that we have a high vacant position, a high rate of individuals that are needed out there to be OT, and I'm very proud of you to obtain your doctoral as occupational therapy. And that's really highly needed throughout the Navajo Reservation. I'd like to also present you on behalf of the 25th Navajo Nation. On behalf of the 25th Navajo Nation Council, I'd like to present you a Pendleton shawl in recognition to be that strong woman to lead and take care of our children out there, and use it when you have ceremonies, use it when you stand and provide those service to our young Navajo children that need your service. So thank you very much. Congratulations again. And I'd like to give some time to her and have her introduce her parents and then her siblings and her family here. So with that, so with that, want to take one speaker? And just the way I got this information was from Chanela Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton, and she provided a text message to me, and I was very happy to receive that text message from her, and so that's how we move forward with the recognition to provide this to her this morning during fall council session of Lolithlako. So thank you, Shanale. Thank you very much.
I just want to say thank you to Mr. James, and he was my high school senior sponsor, and also to Eugenia, thank you. And first, I just want to introduce myself. Rodessa Boni and Shapi Tahnina Shlento Higlini Bashichin, Ashin Hidasha Che Tatnazani Dashanella, and I'm from Chinle. And I went to school at the University of North Dakota and received my doctorate of occupational therapy. And I just want to say a huge thank you to my family, who has been through it all with me throughout my whole educational journey, and then they're like my biggest supporters. And then my extended family, my grandmas, aunties, uncles, cousins. And then I just want to say again thank you to Mr. James. He has also been a huge part of encouraging us to carry on in our educational journey. And then also Chinle IHS 2, I had previously worked there, and I had gained some good mentors from there, and they encouraged me to continue on with my education. And also just want to say that I would like to provide back to my own community, the Navajo Nation, and to provide services that are much needed here. And that's the reason why I chose occupational therapy, because I worked, like I said, at the therapy department in Pinon and saw the need for it, and noticed that there was one occupational therapist in the area. Other than that, they would be referred out, and so that's why I chose occupational therapy. And then it's also a passion of mine, working with kids, and that's what I want to continue on. I would like to work with the pediatric population, and they are our future generations to come, so like I just want to give them that support that they can continue on with their daily lives. And that is what occupational therapy is. A lot of people ask, like, what is occupational therapy? It's just to help people with disabilities or with areas that they struggle with to carry on in their everyday lives, like dressing, eating, feeding. Even in schools, we provide services there. There's like a wide range of areas that occupational therapists can work in. But for me, like I said, my passion is working with the children, so I'd like to continue that on here and hopefully gain employment here on the Navajo Nation. And then just to future generations, to continue on with your education, and then to give back to the community. If it wasn't for being from here, Navajo Nation, being Dene, like that is where my roots are at, and I wouldn't be where I am today. You know, we have our own traditional ceremonies, traditional prayers, and I think that's what had helped me along the way as well. And that's what I would like to also incorporate into my practice of being an occupational therapist. And that's all I like to say.
So thank you. With that, I just wanted to share one story. I just want to let you guys all know, some of you guys know of this story. And you guys asked me who encouraged me to stop drinking soda. And it was Carmen Sosi, which is she's standing back there, and also Rodessa Boni. And I stopped drinking soda back in 2005, and I'm still at it as of today. So that's how much I have respect for Desi, Carmen, the rest of the class, for encouraging me not to drink soda. And then they even pushed it further from me to not drink coffee, and which I stopped back in 2007. So I haven't even drank coffee since then as well. So that's how much I have respect for them, as we all work together in Chinle High School building. So with that, also today is Dr. Rodessa Boni's birthday, And so if you guys can help me sing happy birthday to her this morning. So with that, we'll start off. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dr. Boni. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday again. Thank you.
And colleagues, good morning. While we are setting up here for our session, roll call is open. All right, thank you, colleagues. Roll call is open, and we do have 13 members here in the council chambers, so that does constitute a quorum, and we will reconvene our day 3 of our session at 10:17 a.m. And this morning, I want to thank you, Chair James, for that recognitions as well. Every morning around 9 o'clock of each day, we do have recognitions for all of our Navajo citizens that continue to do great job in our community. So congratulations to all of our recognitions so far. And at this time, we'd like to call Kwadoa Shema, Honorable Helena Nesbegay, Kwadoa Citizen Haadili Di Benebige.
Oh, he has Gato Shitinedo, he has a speaker curly, called the Hashin Sago Shinsa, under our staff, Nahandal Shidido, other my colleagues and guests in the gallery and people listening online. Kodoshi citizen Linida, Behades and Lindy Benibi Yachiko. Niet zo als je niet echt niet zo dat zijn hallo do bij je het als je bij had iets niet gedaan. Adon dat had niet. If you can talk, you can pray. Niet dat niet ko. Adon dat hakushi nachai wat go in jema niet je. Jema san in kitchen hinale san hinale haskin wat aan handa ook kan. Da hashish. It's on dice there. Lansitze. Adoben and on it ahead us, so we have to do this on our own. Adon Hatchin upon his okay. Nihinale double hygiene and what our a don hick ain lenida, what our a Hashin so go a Nihinol Arthur. So there's in Shape Hansi. So there's in Shandly that what that Nihico, Dishin Okananat Edolet. So Kotashin so there's in. Behades le kon kodo e hajon do le hasa shama ya del chitra kodo ndan hit no ndan hit do kan git ego e kodo in hit hana des konti beni bige konjon konti genad in gladen le kon ke ya hat has aj kon in jon go kon zel kado dat is laden le kon todan le do kon de in jon go kon tro Tron lenede dat iets a kon ben hitrahana da hot ho ikon. In bilchna dat die kaldi beni bilche kon hehen so dat shne kon. Ado kon do ha ahne kon injon go ikon. Ni hya hot in le kon he ha wan namasen leni biche ya na ne je kon na hat an lenede kon de kon beni ye hina ne kai kon quiz kani da shin kon ya iche do kon beni ye ni gale del jaar kochen le kon jeden hik einle dit do chil do dit sa ye hin do tali khashin so go cho endleni ye ni che iltes in di kon jona kope ban da huit a do le jo huinsen kon a huit champion ye na hiti ne do beni ye Because I da hokont LGB. Conjon go ibn Yahan Nelly do Ahanat Elep na Biscaneko. Aquati con de Nesa de do Nesna con de chapters in Nilo conjon go econ. Shabik then eat all let o con de Hashin so go egg the babbage and the has the eat a coin hilta hadne. Do kon engine go e kon ba al ni do les benient na hat anleni kon jon go na el ketsen snel do les kon en so de sniti beni bi je kon de a do kon bel ya nash jahan le kon besh ba hasa anen hitne a do kon speaker of the Navajo Nation a do kon he vice president Madam Montoya kon Ado and the con, she launched a satan con, president of the Navajo Nation, but did no con. Dr. Boo Nigrin con. El Sodi Benibi Chip and Nashni Doles, Ado con del Don here that eat Ahidan le con, Nahandal Nahayadal Kitten, which Ahandal Hartnle, con Jonago Ebelton Dale Nistoles. ado ko injon ko na hat andleni ko elhin to tasen elhi injon ko elhi na neil nesto jo aji I hot ego in saha keson hit so desen da ditsa ado aji ko ye ko ko el a kuiche ko has tweedo sani hana ade kode det so desen da ditsa ide jo pa aninsen hot abet so desen ditsa ko pa beta dil nilnle konjon ko ilhil na dil nesto ado tsa jo hata nit ado ko de hamale hachi altkhle ko ha jo shalchin jo alchi altkhe ha jo na khotlo no da hachi altkhle tsada egi tel to ko ha wanna mazet ne bagan ni ko de bi do shin ha jo na hit ado lel ken leniten he jo pa halonide jo ye go alle na hilnanle what are is besnash the nest haide hashin zade ko also bible dit no da yo all what abis be beshia ho ko de snal hastin lot hat din da yo solche ko e bin da ko de na ta nal yo na dal kaiten ne ko hot ada al det og le hot egon hinat ani na hata ho ata dano nta oskan ADP nchen ha enite nta tiklis ha kuich shin hot as tweet osanin handa oskan ko ha kuit shin hot an hata isi ado kon na palna asnel ko ze ben ha rabich ko ha kuit shin ko nat ahta tadilkla nat on ta hasnel hot an hikeya hot a kalt ol lesn kinat a hot a njon go bel ke ne khato les hot an khata ho ato les no da ko na khanda os khan di beni be yech ko na khati yin on ditlis bel ki hindi khanle a jene yilna in sikesna yilna a jo khalo men ye hot a ha chebe hatse sata ato oston ne talle a hot end the ADP penny be je hot a so de zimbi hilado lelko ato da to ko shitselishna hatsi Herman Daniels so de zin hat des hinge in de bitches ist kesselni ashini so de zin linide bastke Lawet aben ich ja da hi hajosen da es ist nichts a dort lo na anjol dolta dann hit no ben in an ich da hat es count da shish bin in da kommt es gis nach an as laun da shish ink den ich bin in na go hot en so da den shinkle you must san in change you ma Nijedan lemen kestrote gilte. Eido ba den nilsenda to. Yeta etsa to ye hata hasi to ye vet so desente yilai to ba den nilsenda. Senesh kishin lenide obeln ta hoil tral. Be ei desen strande. Ha ishi ha no ko elken neit hi hot ojen. Ye is so sent that din hitch as the thought or less no haliad or less no chet hin you got to strasend di hi patati kringle e shimpini na go hot an hitchos johinsenle so da hashit ego konde ne etsil to ne chopa ide bekon ben ik en na hot islahti beni bijechko Anit go in hit so this in ditsa and the DJ di beni bije an khati lihloko ne che khaikal di beni ko di beni bije beni ko so this in leni be hatit se shito ni di te ben nach di bi hilat all this we need to have that respect batati khailto Nleda shilhol jishna konde kon not ani din not ani din sin shit no she a ho a distin de ha hunste shama chelinda khoshich no yobni nan hich hachishke anat ani de hobchinida ha ishin dat ne dot les beni na din sin dan hich no hich hachishke go hich achiltio bauchen nisi akwati benibi je kon hit salat son le kon distin kon na hasan la bi je kon abatel ne han ken abatel ye konde hashin so ko konde ni chan das bandle ni chan das landle kon bitsis hat das oben sich hat das ego da has krigo doch ego da has kindle kon da hat jo pa ko kon ni cha da ilai ko da obsen da iljishle anhin da nitzen und de krido anhin da nitzen o ja delt hinle do in laten jetzt lat so hat anhin na ja do da nitzen da kon la jego beten da hast und da has kindle kode jego beten da na und na da has kindle adon khan da has kindle kon big endle kon ben ik est delte ho kon But is that I not the hasja and the con, it about will cheat and the cottage cheating. A hot and the deep in the beach con. And it's the last son the con ben his zarden the knee behind us, none beach and then maybe not a con the neck and hitch a still the con. Had the conscious agent lingo out of a gold hadit go talker and lingo con. The natural additional con. Ada kon de besh bahas an leni bilta na hasis thani kon lal so dan leni del to kon di chinche kon jon go benashni do lesti kon bagan hata hadet eje walchine benashni do lel kon hot au di beni biche hot anche nicht hasi do lel ada kon besh bahas an ni kon ko eben ye hanane kaido kon khagane ta hot eje kon Nicht hat nas kaje kon hit ja nas lach in je kon del tleje kon alla nit sinite kon benashni do lel kon be yil binani kon yil yigale del kon da hashin so go to kon benashni do lel bachne dan le beso ke benal ke dan le kon hot au de hot au hashin so go e butsa jo hita ho kon Den the con Nichinol a conde, not ani dan hinil dan hilla. Said the 80 bandel na sheet consion got up in nashni dollet. Kay had the house arch cond and hick 8 antle. Hated a bed echo condel so cond in shun go con. Et'll old cotton bed had a hotet edge in shun go conde, the harchin ye. Ina ye de dol le de conjon gon yen handin tin dol le conde. En so atishenti beni biche con. Ashi ni con o yuje was hoselsen it and the con e what out e deep beni biche con. Ni hil ya de con chet tin do woni do chet tin in hall asa ansen go con de distinche deep beni biche. Njon go e betra ya hot go to in do dasen le con. Hot au di be ben hit an hasti do le to kon halchine na khadel ne shin den konjon kon na dal ne stol le kon under the Navajo Nation government kon de ado kon e la hon hana ado no watchin el to kon dal ne sto bakal del kon na ne sto be el tra del in le so njon ko be nashni do le kon de hot ID bini bige hot hasti do lelti beha aten shada na hokosi asni koden hich hojon hasli do lel hojon hasli
Ik ga shama kodo so da zin hape heinzi igi Kudoshi nasho by nai kato lel. And thank you, Honorable Helena Nesbigay, for that strong prayer this morning. And good morning again, colleagues. We did do roll call, and we are back out of recess. And so a recap from yesterday, we did go through the reports and all the way to BIA, IHS, and also the controller. So when we entertained a recess, we didn't include to continue with reports. So this morning we will be going straight to legislations. And we will move forward with 10, old business. A, legislation 0014-24. Primary sponsor is Chair Shondine Parrish. Ms. Johnson, if you could help us read into the record and also for a recap.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Item 10, old business A, legislation 0014-24, an action relating to the Navigated Committee and Navajo Nation Council, amending the Navajo Nation Council Resolution number CJN-29-22 to include additional U.S. Department of Treasury Fiscal Recovery Funds expenditure categories, waiving Navajo Nation Council approval and authorizing administrative approval of amendments to the Navajo Nation Fiscal Recovery Fund Bathroom Additions Expenditure Plan to include additional expenditure categories. This legislation is sponsored by Honorable Shondine Parrish, co-sponsored by Honorable Crystalline Curley. You have committee report from the Navigated Committee dated January 18, 2024, passed and referred to the Navajo Nation Council. Also attached to the legislation is a Navajo Nation Council action report dated January 23, 2024. This legislation there was a motion to table legislation 0014-24 and bring back no later than the end of new business for the winter session 2024. Motion was by Honorable Vince James, seconded by Honorable George Toll, with a vote of 14 in favor, 1 opposed. There was one amendment to this action report. Amendment 1 on page 1 at line 15, delete the following: overstrike to include additional U.S. Department of Treasury Fiscal Recovery Funds expenditure categories, and overstrike, and replace with underline new language, section 11, approval of the bathroom addition expenditure plan to include renovations of existing bathrooms, and underline. 2 on page 1, line 18, delete the following: overstrike to include additional expenditure categories, and overstrike. 3 on page 2 of line 12, delete overstrike 83 and replace with underline 125. 4 on page 2, paragraph D, starting at line 25, delete and replace as follows: paragraph D, after only authorizes, overstrike bathroom additions projects falling under expenditure category 1.114, other public health services, which has limited and restricted the extent of otherwise eligible FRF bathroom addition projects, and overstrike. New paragraph D, after only authorizes, insert new language, quote unquote, new bathroom addition projects, including building new ADA compliant bathrooms, connecting the home to electricity, providing the home with drinking water through a water cistern or connection to a water line, providing the home with a septic tank or connecting to a sewer system. The approved expenditure plan also includes a water heater, wall heater, toilet, bathroom sink, and utility sink for the bathroom addition. The approved CJN-29-22 Section 11 bathroom addition expenditure plan did not include renovation of existing bathrooms, which has restricted the extent of otherwise FRF eligible bathroom renovation projects, and underline. 5 on page 2, paragraph E, starting at line 28, delete and replace as follows: paragraph E, after expenditure plan, overstrike to include expenditure categories 5.3 and 5.5 shall authorize the use of NNFRF funding for bathroom additions as well as for bathroom renovations, and overstrike. Paragraph E, after expenditure plan, new language, insert, shall authorize the use of section 11 NNFRF funding the bathroom additions as well as the bathroom renovations. This amendment expanding the Section 11 expenditure plan to include bathroom renovations is in the best interest of the nation. It will address the needs of several Navajo Nation chapters and delegate regions in which fewer residents need new bathroom additions, but many residents could benefit from renovations to their existing bathrooms to make them ADA accessible and/or to repair or replace existing structures or fixtures as necessary to make the existing bathroom safe, sanitary, and compliant with industry standards. And underline 6 on page 3 at line 2, delete expenditure categories 5.3 and 5.5 and replace with underline bathroom renovations. 7, page 3, at line 7, after bathroom additions, add underline and bathroom renovations. 8, on page 3, at line 8, delete the following. Overstrike decentralized wastewater expenditure category 5.3 and/or other sewer infrastructure category, expenditure category 5.5. 9, on page 3, line 8, after expenditure category 1.14, add underline or other expenditure category assigned by NNDOJ. 10, on page 3 at line 16, delete the following. Overstrike incorporate expenditure categories 5.3 and 5.5 and replace underline include bathroom renovations. 11, on page 3, line 23, delete the following. Overstrike incorporate decentralized wastewater expenditure category 5.3 and/or other sewer infrastructure expenditure category 5.5 and replace with the following. Underline include bathroom renovation projects. 12, on page 3, line 28, delete the following. Overstrike incorporation of decentralized wastewater expenditure category 5.3 and/or other sewer infrastructure category expenditure category 5.5 and replace with the following. Underline inclusion of bathroom renovation projects. 13, on page 3 at line 30, add new paragraph D as follows. Paragraph D, underline D, bathroom renovation project shall include renovations, repairs, and improvements to existing bathroom facilities, making existing bathrooms ADA compliant and accessible for elderly and disabled individuals as needed, connecting the home to electricity, providing the home with drinking water through a water cistern or connection to a water line, or repairs to or replacement of existing cistern or water line connections, providing the home with a septic tank or connecting to a sewer system, or repairs to or replacement of existing septic tank or sewer connections, repairs to or replacement of water heater, wall heater, toilet, bathroom sink, and utility sink, and other repairs to or replacement of other structures or fixtures as necessary to make the renovation of the existing bathroom compliant with the industry standards and of the same quality as bathroom additions being built under the same expenditure plan. 14, on page 4, line 16, delete overstrike incorporate decentralized wastewater expenditure category 5.3 and other sewer infrastructure expenditure category 5.5 and replace with underlined bathroom renovation projects. 15, on page 4, line 19, add the bathroom renovation before expenditure plan to the office of president. 16, on page 4, line 20, after bathroom addition, add underline and bathroom renovation. 17, on page 4, line 20, after bathroom addition, add underline and bathroom renovation. 18, renumber, relater succeeding paragraphs, sections, and exhibits as necessary and appropriate. The council and committee hereby authorize the Office of Legislative Services and the Office of Legislative Counsel to correct grammatical and other technical errors, including adjustment of comprehensive dollar amounts consistent with the intent of this amendment. This amendment supersedes all inconsistent language in any other committee or council amendment. There's also a committee report dated action report dated January 24. Motion to refer legislation 0014-24 back to the Nabakeatik Committee and bring back within 60 days. Motion was held by Honorable Shanine Parrish, seconded by Honorable Norman Mbige. And the Nabakeatik Committee report dated February 22nd, 2024. Recommend the legislation passed and referred to the Navajo Nation Council. This legislation is final authority with Navajo Nation Council Per Navajo Nation Council Rules of Order, Rule 9, legislation has been read into record by electronic voice recording. Madam Speaker.
All right, thank you, Ms. Johnson, for that recap. And colleagues, we do have a main motion in place. We do have Honorable Simpson, and it was second by Vice Chair Sherilyn Yazzie. And we do have reserved time, so I can recap those as well. We have Chair Crotty with 2 minutes and 5 seconds. Chair Vince James with 1 minute and 24 seconds. Honorable Vice Slater with 2 minutes and 12 seconds. Delegate Danny Simpson with 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and also Chair Brenda Jesus with 1 minute and 21 seconds. But at this time, I'm going to have our sponsor do a recap of the legislation, and then we can proceed with questions.
Good morning, colleagues. It is good to be here on our third day of the 2024 Fall Council session. Thank you, Speaker Curley, and thank you again for allowing some time to have us present on legislation 00124. I want to also thank Chair Eugenia Charles Newton for continuously raising this legislation, not just on the floor, but in Nabikiatia and throughout this past quarter. I really think it's the advocacy of Chair Eugenia Charles Newton that has reminded us that this is live legislation and that we can take this into consideration today. Many of our colleagues all across the Navajo Nation have continued to monitor their bathroom additions, and we're recognizing that we do have balances that can be utilized for bathroom renovations. Colleagues, this legislation was introduced to the Navajo Nation Council in the winter council session last year, or earlier this year, and we had a lengthy discussion, but at the time we didn't know the balances or impacts of work orders of the progress that the Division of Community Development would be producing. So at this time I do have my agent here, Mr. Ryan Begay, who works in the Division of Community Development office specifically on bathroom additions. And the Division of Community Development took a look at 00124 one more time this past week, and they have they've done an analysis of how it would impact each of our chapters and how it would benefit the Navajo Nation on expending the FRF dollars. This legislation will ensure that our FRF dollars are expended in the Section 11 of CJY 2922 to maximize every single dollar. So this will continue to expand the usage for Section 11 in the legislation. To utilize it for bathroom renovations. In our last work session at the Nabikiatia Committee about a week ago, Division of Community Development came to the committee with recommendations of using the term upgrades, and the reason why they recommended using the term upgrades is because many of the renovations, the term renovation was limiting to what they could do in terms of upgrades. So I'll allow some time to Mr. Ryan Begay to expand on that, and also a sheet will be submitted to each and every one of you to remind you how much money has been expended through the work orders of bathroom additions through this section. Again, if you do have a remaining balance, like many of us, we want to make sure that we maximize these dollars, and expanding the usage for Section 11 of CJY 2922 will ensure that we don't send any money back and that we can continue the work at the Division of Community Development. I'll turn the floor over to Mr. Ryan Begay.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Delegate Parrish, for allowing me to speak here. Yate bene she Ryan Arbigay Yinishia touchy ni nishlempit ani bushes chin to heglini dashes che auto oze touchy ni dashanella. I am the planner estimator at the DCD ARPA, and I am also the project manager for Section 11. And so today's report, or today's legislation, we are trying to add the term bathroom renovation to our section 11, only because as of right now, so I will be sending you guys an updated overall total as far as our section 11 and how much each of the delegates have remaining. And from our project as of right now, we do know that in certain areas, there is a huge remaining balance to where most of the homeowners are not requesting for a bathroom addition, but would rather would rather want a bathroom renovation instead, either to upgrade their tub to a walk-in shower, or either to change out their toilet bowls, or to raise the sink height, or to even just widen up the doorway for these homeowners. And so because of that, our recommendation here today is to add the language bathroom renovation to our section 11, and that way we can utilize most of the fundings in the areas or the regions that aren't being moved at this point. And so we do know that with section 11, it is federal funded. We still have a deadline, and if we do add the renovation, it would increase the amount of work that is being done now, and hopefully we could eventually spend the 50 million, hopefully in the next year, only because as of today we have already obligated about 28.5 million, and so we are more than halfway through the 50 million on pot. And to what Delegate Parrish had told the council is that we wanted to add the word upgrade as well, only because at DCD we do know that there is a difference between having to upgrade / improve a current bathroom addition. Is a little bit different than trying to remodel it and trying to get it to an ADA compliant standards. And so I will be sending out my report here in a bit. Last week I did send out a report at the NABI showing the difference between what is an ADA compliant remodel bathroom compared to an ADA upgrade. On there, it pretty much shows the difference and what would come about as far as the type of work. Hopefully that answers what Delegate Parrish have requested me, and at this time I can take some questions. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Begay, for giving that recap. I know he's going to send out that information. Colleagues, I just also want to raise some points that members of the Budget and Finance Committee reminded me of, that this section was impacted by a line item veto in the reallocation legislation. So today, with the numbers that Mr. Begay will be sending out is based on the interpretation from the Department of Justice and the balances that they have applied to each of our regions. So he'll be sending that out shortly. Colleagues, I do encourage questions on this legislation if you might have any questions. I know that there is Actually, I'd also like to invite the controller up here in case that there's any financial questions about balances in the FRF too. Speaker, that concludes our recap of this legislation and where we are. Colleagues, I just also want to say that we've had numerous work sessions, and I appreciate your participation at those work sessions. But here it is, the legislation 001424, and we look forward to the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Parrish, and also your agents and colleagues. I'm going to go to who's new in queue, and then I will go back to reserve time. So we do have Honorable Dr. Andy Nez. You have 5 minutes to the main motion.
Good morning, Speaker, Aro Ade, colleagues, and everyone. Sorry, I just took a bite of my burrito. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, tape in it. Aro Kwaiki, Shadejado, Anota Kuro Beshbatas Andanigunigi. So if I'm in order, I apologize. I know we're in the middle of an motion here, and we have our first legislation. But if I'm in order, if you could oblige me, I do want to say happy birthday to our Madam Vice President. Today is her birthday, and if I use some of my seconds that we can sing her happy birthday again, I apologize if I'm intervening on this important legislation, but if we can all sing to Madam Vice President and her birthday, we wish you many, many more years of success and livelihood and in goodwill. So, Speaker, if we use my seconds as we sing, that's completely fine with me, but otherwise I reserve my time. Thank you.
Reserve time of 3:55. And so colleagues, I was unaware that Kadol Shamat was your birthday today. So thank you for being here with us you've been here with us for the past 3 days, even into the evening. So colleagues, if you could help me join, wish our Madam Vice President a happy birthday. Happy birthday. Again, happy birthday, Madam Vice President. We're very lucky to have you here joining us on long debates on your birthday. So we really appreciate that. Kwadoshama. So, and colleagues, going back in queue for questions, we only do have reserved time. I don't have anybody else who's new in queue. All right, we have Vice Chair Jermaine Simonson.
Good morning, Speaker. I'm thankful that I still had a whole 5 minutes. So good morning, everyone, colleagues, and also happy birthday, Vice President Rochelle Montoya. So I have just a few questions for the bathroom addition, or a few concerns. I do support the bathroom upgrades and renovations. I just have a few concerns in regards to that. So do you have people in place that will properly assess your restrooms? Do you have people in place that'll go in and will they know that when the restroom the cost might end up being the same in terms of renovation upgrade versus new build? So they look at the restroom, they go in, they start to tear things apart, and they start to see more and more stuff. Do you know when to stop and say, okay, this can't be just, it's not a simple renovation anymore. It needs a new build. So do you have those folks in place? Do you have the time to do that? That would be my other concern. Also, when we had in 2A before us, they talked about having kind of funding that they were considering reverting back in regards to cisterns and other things. Will there be a cost share in that? Like in case other supplies are needed, could they just purchase those things and could you integrate them into this process somehow? So those will be my questions. I reserve the rest of my time. Thank you.
Reserve time of 3:18. Next, we have Helena Nesbitt-Gay. Honorable Helena Nesbitt-Gay, you have 5 minutes to the main motion.
Oh, yeah, for bringing this legislation to us. My question is that, since we have a lot of, chapters on the list going across the Navajo Nation, so do we go with our own contractors from our delegate regions to the chapters? Are they responsible for their own contractors to see who can do this work for us? That's what I would like to know. That's my question. I reserve my time.
Reserve time of 4:27. And at this time, I will have Honorable Parrish have responses for those questions.
Thank you, Speaker Curley, and thank you, members of the 25th Navajo Nation Council. Happy birthday to our Vice President. It's good to have you here today. I know we all work on our birthdays too, but it's good to share your birthday with us. Thank you. We're going to answer a few of the questions from our colleagues. Thank you, Honorable Dr. Andy Nez, for recognizing our Vice President. I'll go next to Vice Chairwoman Jermaine Simonson, asking specific questions to the Division of Community Development on the cost breakdown of how the renovations are going to, some of those fine details of how much that might cost, and if the Division of Community Development has any preliminary quotes and an idea of how much items will cost. After Vice Chairwoman Jermaine Simonson, we had questions from Delegate Helena Nesbitt-Gay on contractors. So I'll yield the time over to Division of Community Development to respond to those specific questions. Speaker.
Well, thank you again, Delegate Parrish. And to Delegate Simonson, as far as who do we have in place for the bathroom renovation project, so as of right now, the bathroom renovation will just be added to our NECA contract. So we will be having NECA do the assessments, and right now we also have subcontractors that NECA are currently working with. So it could be either NECA or their subcontractors that's going to be conducting the assessments. As far as if we have time to do the assessments, yes, we do. I do know that NECA is wanting more jobs, more work. So if we allow the bathroom renovation to take place, I know it's going to increase a lot more employment with them. Yeah, so it's going to benefit them, and it's going to also benefit the Navajo people that are currently looking for work. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question. And then to Delegate Helena Begay, again, we are just going to be adding the renovation to our current NECA contract. So the contractor is going to be, it's going to be NECA. Again, this is for the Section 11 under ARPA. Yeah, so I think that's about it. Thank you. Okay, and then as far as the cost sharing, we are aware that NTUA, even right now as we speak, we do have an NTOA list. NTOA is actually doing their own bathroom addition as well. And so we are already cost sharing, if you can say that. I think what you were stating was that NTOA is going to give back some of the ARPA funding, correct? Okay, and so with that funding that they are going to give back, we have yet to have that conversation with them as far as, I do know that DCD is the oversight over that Section 9. So hopefully we can have that meeting and discuss how we're going to utilize the 48 million. And hopefully we can put some to our Section 11 as well. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Begay, for responding. Again, colleagues, Ryan Begay is the designated staff member who is working on Section 11. And Speaker Curley, that concludes our responses.
Thank you, Honorable Parrish and Mr. Begay. And colleagues, I'm going to go back to, for questions, Honorable George Tolth, 5 minutes to the main motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Also, 25th Navajo Nation Council, visitors, Ado Corona Adishke. How long is it going to take? Another 2 or 3 years to complete all this project? That is the biggest problem we have. How many of contractor are working in New Mexico, my area? I cover 8 chapters from Baca all the way up to Torreon, Consular. Yahai chapter is still waiting for. And also which chapter, I guess what I'm saying is we need chapters. How many chapters are on the list out of this 23? So I think I've been hearing this report every time we have meetings. When is the contract to be in our area to start working on these bathroom addition? We have some from the state of New Mexico, and nobody has not started. Yeah, there's a problem with, I don't know what's going on with community development. Because it's not me, it's the chapter official, administrator, even the client. They're the one that's asking me, and sometimes I don't have the listing. So, yet, when are we going to start building this bathroom? Every time we have work sessions, same thing. The contractor. How many contractors, subcontract are working? And when are they going to complete? So I can go back and tell my chapter, hey, you're next. All we hear is we're going to do this. There's contract out there. But, we need an update when your contractor will be out there to start working. Idea, Korobe had this, Madam Speaker, reserve my time. Thank you.
Reserve time of 2:08. I don't see anybody in queue, so I'm going to go back to the original reserve time on the main motion. Honorable Crotty, 2 minutes and 5 seconds. I can, you want me to? Okay. We'll skip and we'll go to Chair Vince James with 1 minute and 24 seconds.
Reserve my time.
Reserve time of 1:23. Going next, Vice Chair Slater is not here. Honorable Danny Simpson with 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Next, we do have Honorable Chair Brenda Jesus with 1 minute and 21 seconds.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'll reserve my time, Speaker. Sorry.
Reserve time of 1:17. And we'll go back to Vice Chair Simonson with 3 minutes and 18 seconds.
Okay, thank you. I just want to, I don't have any more, any further questions, but thank you for answering the ones I had. I just want to say, and I want to give credit where credit is due with my community. When COVID first hit and the first round of funding came out, we had our champion, community champion, longtime leader, Percy Deal, who went around through the whole community and did his own assessment. And he wrote down names, and he actually visited homes, and this list that was given then to NECA is a lot, that list was used, his list was used. And I'm thinking that's why I'm at a good 99% rate. And I'll tell you that the work has begun last week, this week in my community. And it's this, the side of, in my area where I live. And I just know that if it were not for these ARPA funds, we still would not be on anybody's list for water lines, because we are, where we live, we're all very scattered, and we don't live in cluster homes, and the nearest neighbor is about 1 mile, half a mile to a mile apart, and we're at an uphill. So then the water would have to go sort of at an upgrade. So if it weren't for these funds, we would not, absolutely not be getting any kind of restroom or water lines. And so I just want to put that on record. I appreciate Chiaj Percy Deal. Not even at the age that you are, and just that you don't hold any official political elected position capacity. You know, I'm sure you all get his emails from time to time. Real passionate about water, about windmills, about livestock. So I just want to recognize Shiaj this morning. Thank you. Because of you, we are, my communities are, and families are getting restroom additions. Which will, and then I don't have to be the community restroom anymore and the community showers, so I appreciate that. And so, thank you. I'll be washing less towels from now on. And thank you, and I'm going to waive the rest of my time.
Thank you, Vice Chair Simonson. And new in queue, we do have Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton, 5 minutes to the main motion.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you, Chair Parrish, for pushing this forward and working with me to try to address these renovations that need to be put in place. So my big thing was really making sure that our bathrooms are ADA compliant, because I always say that at some point or another, as we get older, we are going to, if we're lucky enough, it won't happen, but for most of our elders, they grow into a disability. And my dad, Husky Benali, always talks about that, you know, about the disability community and how they're often forgotten. So even when this legislation was going through the process, I kept asking ADA bathrooms, ADA bathrooms. And I was assured and reassured when the original legislation, CJN-29-22, was going through the process, that that was going to be included. And so I collected names through the Northern Agency, sitting out for a couple of days to get, information from people on how many people need these bathroom additions. So we had people even from Tuba City, out from Western, who came out to put their name down on that list. But I just want to make sure that this is clear and on the record. When we're talking about renovation, does that include upgrades? Because remember, that distinction was made during last week's work session. Remember, they were like, well, renovation is this. What you guys are asking for is upgrades. And I kept saying, well, DOJ better be in the room when we have this discussion, because at the end of the day, they're the ones who are gonna either be blocking it again, or they're going to be saying, okay, yes, it's good to go. I appreciate that the ADA compliance language is within the legislation. So I just want to make sure, Speaker, that there is not a difference between renovation and upgrades, because that was talked about last week at the ARPA work session. And again, my goal is just to make sure that the people who need the ADA compliant bathrooms will have that when this legislation is passed. I reserve my time, Speaker.
Reserve time of 2:35. And next, new in queue, we have Honorable Lester Yazzie, 5 minutes to the main motion.
Madam Speaker, Adinda Yate Bennett, Madam Vice President, and the members of the 25th Council that are here on the floor, and those that are listening. Adinda Kuneshi Gedosh Kunen Hatanige Hat Arnoldsko. Adinda Hodoshima Bennett, Junoia, so Daisy Don Junoia, and he's a lot so a beho need I said on Sawi. A JB, the Hotoia, if you know a behinzi, Kotsadan Sago, a hat. A co Adinda Nedos Celias, Mr. Brigay, and Juno Hodota, and his Nelson Lege. And I do appreciate Madam Chair. And making this amendment to the bathroom addition expenditure plan. And I do also appreciate the fact that we are concentrating on the ADA compliance of some of these existing bathrooms. And I do apologize, council members, if I'm repeating a question that have already been asked. But one of the issues that we may have that is existing is that we really need these bathroom additions or these bathroom renovations to be turnkey. There's been reports of structures that have been constructed, and for some time they've just been sitting idling, and now they're beginning to depreciate or beginning to run down. So my question would be, in this new amendment, the renovations that are going to be connected to electricity, connected to a water cistern or connected to a water line, and then also the septic tank are connected to the sewage. If these assessments are being done, we also like to include the utility infrastructure and making sure that we the bathroom renovations or additions, when they're completed, are available and are turnkey for our constituents to begin using. I'll go ahead and reserve my time.
Reserve time of 2:45. And at this time, I'm going to give we do have Honorable Shauna Ann Claw, 5 minutes to the main motion.
Good morning, and thank you for the presentation here. Good morning to my fellow delegates here on the floor, as well as those in the gallery and those listening online. I do want to ask some questions regarding the key findings and recommendations. So it does state here that although 3 delegates are over their allocated amount, it says to amend the legislation, and that would cover the negative balance, which would allow for more people in the areas that can be served. In here, it also states that
They are turning a lot of people away in the central and western agency due to limited funding. So I just want to know how you have been collecting statistics to come up with that conclusion. And then also, especially working with the LGA certified chapters who are completing their own bathroom additions and also doing renovations. One of the things that I keep reminding DCD is that a lot of these certified chapters do not have licensed plumbers or certified electricians. So who is guaranteeing the work that's being done? I have people that come up to me and they tell me that their bathroom additions are not in compliance. Many of them are not even wired to the home, and the families are told that they have to complete those on their own. And so those are some of my concerns that I have regarding bathroom additions. Is it's good when you have IDIQ that are actually doing the contracted work, but when you have chapters that are having PEP workers or summer youth employment workers, you know, there's no accountability for the funds that are being used. And a lot of our people don't want to report it because of fear of retaliation. They're going to be cut off from services for the chapter. They're not going to get wood, they're not going to get food, they're not going to get PEP. So those are some of the concerns that I have that I wanted to share at this time. In addition to that, it just says that these bathroom additions would allow for the help more families. So if I could just get that clarified, how you found the statistics, and then also if you could share that with us and forward that to each of us delegates. So I reserve the rest of my time. Thank you.
Reserve time of 2:22. And going back to reserve time, we have Honorable Dr. Andy Nez with 3 minutes and 55 seconds. Point of privilege raised by Honorable Vince James.
Thank you, speakers, member of council, presenters. I raise this point of privilege to Rule 16, Section B, to provide additional documentation. As presenters, Mr. Begay, can you provide us a listing of each of the delegates that are needing bathroom renovation? I don't see a listing here of each delegate or the numbers of how many bathroom renovation is needed by delegates. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Vince James, for that point of privilege, and I'm going to give it back to our sponsor, Mr. Begay here.
Thank you, Speaker Curley, and thank you, Chairman Vince James, for raising that point of privilege. We do have some preliminary numbers. Right now, Mr. Begay is working with the Shauna to calculate those numbers, and that is another individual who was contracted out with the Division of Community Development in order to get the exact numbers. Right now, the intention of the legislation is to ensure that we can maximize those dollars spent, but I can give the floor over to Mr. Begay to respond to some of those details to see if that listing is ready.
Again, thank you, Delegate Parrish, and to the 25th Council. And so I'd like to respond back to Delegate Toth. At this point, as far as your chapters with NECA, we are in progress with 23 bathroom additions in your area as of right now. Most of the work are being done at Baca Pruitt, and it's already ongoing. Hopefully by next month, we'll have about 12 bathroom additions done there. And also, as far as who's working in that area, I do know that NECA are having their own guys in that area. I don't think they have a subcontractor in that area, but I can reach out to NECA and.
Mr. Begay,
just
if you
confirm.
could just only address to the point of privilege, and then I'll give you back the floor for responses to the other questions that delegates did have. So just pertaining to Honorable James' questions.
Okay. And to Delegate James, I can send that list out. As of right now, I do have 2 delegates that are requesting for a bathroom renovation. Some of these lists range over 100 names already, but I can send that list to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Honorable Parrish, if you have additional. Thank you, Mr. Begay, and if you could send out that draft of your listings to the delegates, and if it does have client names, make sure just to put it as a confidential listing, so then we can distribute that among the delegates here. And going back to reserve time, Honorable Dr. Andy Nez with 3 minutes and 55 seconds.
Hakashi, Speaker. So I have a question regarding the contract. If this legislation passes, does this contract, as it was stated, would need to be updated with NECA? And so would that have to pursue the 164? My concern is that we are pressing against a December deadline. So that's if it's amended, based on that timeline. I wish NECA was here so that I can get some sort of commitment on how they would start to strategize and pursue subcontractors if we're working directly or adopting the upgrades. Because I know you have small businesses like Copper Penny Plumbing who does exceptional work, and many of our small businesses who are a lot familiar with many of our residents don't often get granted an opportunity. So I don't see NECA here, but that's a commitment I need to hear from NECA, because I know in one of their first presentations they talked about 4 subcontractors and it went up to 9, which is great, but there more needs to be done, because when NECA was here last time I did ask that we do have residents out towards Sawmill and Crystal who have and questioned the warranty, because I don't know if it's because we received all this money so we don't have to give it our 100%, and that's not okay, because then our residents and others, our families, are recipients of this, and they shouldn't be coming back in 2 to 3 years with these small scale or large scale projects that are done by NECA. And then I'm also interested to learn the names of the bathroom addition upgrades, because we were informed bathroom addition, so I don't understand how DCD would get upgrade listings, because that's not something that we worked with, at least for myself. I didn't work directly with our chapters to get that particular information. We did learn from Red Lake though in Navajo that that they don't necessarily need an addition but an upgrade, but we were informing them this is what it currently states now in bathroom additions. So I'm just curious how you got some of that listing that I'm assuming going to see within the next 30 minutes or so. Thank you, Speaker. I reserve my time.
Reserve time of 1:22. Next, we have Honorable Helena Nesbigay with 4 minutes and 27 seconds.
Yeah, I have a question. With this renovation, I know my colleagues, some of them said just bathroom addition. I know we got that listing for just bathroom addition, but so if I know we're getting requests is for renovations too. So I don't know how your listing is. Maybe you can share that listing with me. That way we can compromise that and see where we can fall. And then some of them are like I think they might have got on the list for a bathroom addition, but they might be getting, because some chapters are getting their modular units that they requested for. So that's why I want to look at the listing again. If we can sit down and share that. Okay. That's just my next question. That's it. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Speaker. Back to you. I waive my time.
Thank you, Honorable Helena Nesbigay. And then going next to Honorable Crotty with reserve time of 2 minutes and 5 seconds. Reserve of 2:04. Honorable Parrish for responses.
Thank you, Speaker Curley, and thank you, colleagues, for your questions. A lot of your questions are in regards to developing a list. I believe as the list is being developed, I think that the Navajo Nation Council should also consider that the November 1st deadline is in a few days. So if we don't change the laws today to use these dollars for more than bathroom additions, this means that a lot of the Section 11 money in CJY 2922 is stuck in the status just for that expenditure for the bathroom additions. So today, this amendment in 001424 is expanding the use of those dollars, and a lot of you have seen the spreadsheet with balances left over. For instance, in my district, I have about $300,000. So if you look at the quotes from NECA, that's about 3 or 4 bathroom additions. And right now, IHS and the Division of Community Development don't have recommendations for my district. But that $300,000 could really go further with renovations or upgrades. So some of these small purchases to really expend down these dollars in Section 11 and CJY 2922 can be maximized by making this amendment in the legislation to define what bathroom renovations are. But for the specific questions about upgrades, I will give those questions over to Mr. Bigay. But I just wanted to remind our colleagues of how time sensitive these decisions are. It's really about spending down the F4F dollars, because this is not general funds. Again, this is fiscal recovery fund dollars, and we're just expanding the category usage of these dollars to ensure that we can also use these dollars for bathroom renovations and bathroom upgrades. So again, thank you to my colleagues, Honorable George Tolth, Vice Chairwoman Jermaine Simonson, Delegate Shauna Ann Claw, Delegate Dr. Andy Nez, Chairwoman Eugenia Charles Newton, Delegate Lester Yazzie for your questions. A lot of them went specifically to Mr. Bigay, so I will yield the time, but I just wanted to start with that to remind everyone that yes, listing is important, but our ability today on the council floor is to expand the usage of these dollars. So I'll yield the rest of my time over, or some more time, to Mr. Bigay to answer the questions.
All right, thank you, Delegate Parrish. And so, so earlier, Delegate Newton had asked, is it going to be a part of the legislation? So there is a word in there which asks for improvement, and pretty much we believe that improvement to an existing bathroom addition is pretty much the same word as an upgrade, so it will be included. Yes, ADA compliant will be in the legislation, and so hopefully that answers your question. And then as far as Delegate Yazzie, Delegate Lester Yazzie, when we conduct the renovation, again, each homeowner is going to be different as far as what they are going to be requesting for. It could be as simple as just changing out a tub to a walk-in shower, or just making the bathroom doors a little wider. So I can't, it would just be based on the assessments. We do know it's going to be on a case by case. So not every renovation is going to involve us having to connect to a cistern or having to connect the electricity. So again, it's going to be on a case by case with that. And then as far as Delegate Claw, I know when it comes to the LGA, even with your chapter, we do know that they are doing their own bathroom addition. It is unfortunate about what's going on in that area, even as far as having to learn that their contractor is not doing all of the work compared to our Section 11. But I know when it comes to a subrecipient agreement, I know each chapter that submits a subrecipient agreement, they are aware that they have to get the project done. They pretty much have to do it themselves, and even though as an oversight we try to step in, but of course at that point, since the chapter is certified, they're able to do what they want to do, but just as long as they follow the Navajo Nation policies and procedure. But if there's any other if there's any other complaint about the project that's being done, we can always have a meeting on that internally over at DCD. And then as far as with Delegate Nez, yes, I can get that listing out to you, to all of the delegates, as far as which chapter is requesting for a bathroom renovation. And even now, as we speak, we do know that we are still telling all the homeowners or anybody that's calling that all we're doing is just a bathroom addition. But even though that we state that, we would still get emails, even a list from chapters saying that here's a list of clients that are just asking for a bathroom renovation. And so, like, even now, if this legislation were to pass, it's going to be easy to find names and to reach out to these chapters that were asking for a bathroom renovation instead. So yeah, I would just have to do a lot more research on my end. I'm having to go through my emails and having to calculate all the names that are all of the names that were requesting for a bathroom renovation, and so I can get that to you guys as well. Other than that, I think that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Begay. I wanted to go back to some of the questions that were asked by our colleagues. To Honorable George Tolth, I know that you asked about when the construction will begin taking place, and I believe Mr. Begay had mentioned that the bathroom additions are beginning this week. And so I hope that answers your question. To Honorable Jermaine Simonson, we appreciate all our community members' input and advocacy to ensure that these services are met. And Chair Eugenia Charles Newton, I believe Mr. Begay did confirm that these are upgrades. The language in this legislation does concur with the Division of Community Development's understanding of upgrades and also renovations. And then to Honorable Shauna Ann Claw, I just conferred with Ms. Belzowski, and if you have direct questions for Ms. Belzowski, she can continue to update you on the contract, but she did confirm that a contract modification would be necessary. However, because the Section 11 CJY $29 are completely obligated to one contract at this time, that means they will remain obligated. What internally we need to do as a Navajo Nation is to modify that contract before December, but the Department of Justice is keen on this because Ms. Belzowski is the one who works directly on those contracts. But if you have if I didn't answer your question, Delegate Shauna Anclaw, we can definitely bring Ms. Belzowski to the stand to answer that question. And to Honorable Helena Nesbigay, thank you for your question about the contracts as well. I don't know did Mr. Begay answer your question? Okay, great. Sounds good. And to Honorable Dr. Andy Nez, I know you had a question about the criteria. I don't know if the Division of Community Development offered much detail into your answer, but if you would like to restate that question, you can definitely, I'd like to know that too. Thank you, Speaker Curley. That concludes my response.
Thank you, Honorable Parrish, for those responses, and Mr. Begay and colleagues. I don't see anyone. Okay, we have Honorable Yanito. You have 5 minutes to the main motion.
Yate Pena, I have for your legislation here, and I've been waiting for this renovation amendment here. According to my my allocation, I only have 3, and there's only like 0 completion on my report. So what you guys are saying is that I can still collect more recipients, and my dollar is going to go up from 11%, huh? Okay, that's the only question I had. I'll reserve my time. Thank you.
Reserve time of 4:19. And colleagues, if you're having conversations in the back room or with guests in the gallery, if you can keep it down here. We do have some of our colleagues that are asking for it to be more quieter in the back. Thank you. And going back to reserve time, we have Honorable Simpson with 2 minutes and 15 seconds.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Council. I reserve my time.
Reserve time of 2:13. Going next with Honorable Chair Vince James with 1 minute and 23 seconds.
Thank you, Speaker, members of council, presenters. I know I will run out of time, but I'll just try and be fast here. I was wondering why this handsome, brave delegate, Vince James, voted red on this amendment regarding bathroom renovation. And so I went back to my notes, and we received this funding to address COVID death-related numbers, to reduce those numbers. And in order to do that, we needed to get running waters to those homes that don't have access to running water. And in order to get that water line installed to those homes, one of the requirements was to have bathroom additions at those homes. So when we do this bathroom renovation, we are addressing homes that already have access to water. But then we are not addressing those homes that don't have running water. And that was the reason why I was the only delegate that voted red on this amendment, was because we were only addressing those homes again that have access to water. What do we do with the rest of our Navajo people that don't have access to running water, that need that bathroom addition? And that was the reason why
Thank you, Honorable James. Next, for reserve time, we have Honorable Brenda Jesus. Next, we do have Honorable Dr. Andy Nez with 1 minute and 22 seconds.
Hakushin Ekiat, Speaker. So the question I had on the 164, if that's amended, the contract and the 164 process, again, there's that strict timeline. Again, I look forward to the document that Mr. Begay mentioned he would send over, considering, again, our advocacy was focused primarily on bathroom additions rather than the upgrades or renovations. And then, again, I'm just going to reemphasize on NECA, again, wish they were here so I can hear that commitment. So I'll pause there again. Speaker, I reserve my time. Thank you.
Reserve time of 50 seconds. Going next, Honorable Toth with 2 minutes and 8 seconds.
I just waive my time.
Thank you, Honorable Toth. Next, we have Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton with 2 minutes and 35 seconds.
Thank you, Speaker. So my question in terms of the language of upgrade was really mainly for Department of Justice, but thank you for trying to answer that. I waited for Department of Justice and for Office of Legislative Counsel. I need to make sure that that is included, the ADA compliant bathrooms. A lot of our elders, it's difficult for them to take showers because they can't step over the tub. And it's, the renovations, some of my elders, I know in my community, their bathrooms are so bad that they don't even take showers. And, it's sad when you see those things happening, which is why I requested, that we do have this. And I just want to make sure that with the language renovation, that it does include the issues that were brought up earlier this week or last week at the work session regarding the distinction between upgrades and renovation. Thank you, Speaker. I reserve my time.
Reserve time of 1:30. Honorable Lester Yazzie with 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
Hakashiha Nanan Shinala, Honorable Madam Speaker, Ado Hiala Hodon Hisintahos Nagits, and Sao Iba Hins and Hodosh Siliaj, Ryan, for all the work that you're doing in your advocacy for this bathroom renovation addition project. With that, Madam Speaker, I'd like to respectfully request that I yield my time to Honorable Chair James.
Yielding time of 2 minutes and 22 seconds to Honorable Vince James.
Thank you. I accept Honorable Yazzie for that. Again, the reason why I voted red was because the big concern was, and the reason why we received this big money was to get water to homes that don't have running water. Because there was an outpour of data that we received that there were many homes out there that we found out that there were multiple family members that have passed away from COVID because they didn't have running water, because they only had a bowl of water sitting there and they couldn't wash their hand, or they were just sharing that same water. And so that was the reason why I voted against this amendment for renovation. Speaker, if you can.
Pause time. Colleagues, again, a reminder that if you are having conversations, we do have the South and North Conference room. Honorable James, you can resume with 1 minute and 14 seconds.
Thank you again. And so that was the reason why we received a big chunk of money to get waters to those elderlies that don't have water. We've seen so many CNN news broadcasts that had happened during COVID, and we've seen grandmas and grandpas sifting out water from barrels using a hose into their buckets. We had disabled individuals that were carrying 1 gallon of milk cartons, and those were the reasons why we received this money. But at this point in time, we are now talking about renovation, which I totally understand, which I'm not against as well. I know that we need the renovation, and I know that there are many homes out there that have increased with family members in that home to where they only have a small septic tank, which is another issue. Yes, I understand all of that, but the reason why we received this money was to get water to homes that don't have access to running.
Thank you, Honorable James. Then going next, we have reserved time by Honorable Plah with 2 minutes and 22 seconds.
I'll reserve the rest of my time.
Reserve time of 2:21. And new in queue, we do have Honorable Norman Begay, 5 minutes to the main motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Although Presenter Parrish and Mr. Begay, although 25th Council, though people in the audience and people listening on the internet, bathroom addition and renovation. I think we already had a meeting with Mr. Begay about how much it's going to really actually cost if we have to renovate a new bathroom on these new additions, yeah? Because we don't know if some of these homes are made in the 60s, 70s, because you have asbestos and tiles that are asbestos. It's going to cost us more money. So I don't know if we're going to go that route or not, but you know, they live about half a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, whatever, away from the water. So so we should have gotten the water to the people first, but and then I'll go ahead and yield my time to Delegate James. Thank you.
Yielding time of 4 minutes to Honorable James.
I said, Speaker, thank you, Honorable Begay. And so with that, it brings me still a lot of concern because when we received those information during the work session from Mr. Begay, there was a lot of homes that were still not addressed in Eastern. There was a lot of homes that were still not addressed in Western. And we did receive bathroom addition maps that had all of those blue dots on there. And there was a lot of blue dots within the high populated communities, high populated chapters. And majority of those areas already had access to water. And so it still brings concerns to me because there is quite a bit, a handful of individuals in the central agency in Pinyon area, that whole Big Mountain area, Hard Rock area, that don't have running water. The 3 satellite areas, they don't have bathroom additions. And if you look at that map that was provided to us, Eastern does not have a lot of blue dots. And that brings a lot of concern to me because we have Navajo individuals in Nayeezy, in that whole section of the Navajo Reservation, in the 3 satellite areas. How are we going to address getting running water to those homes if those homes don't have bathroom addition? How are we going to make those improvements for those chapters that still don't have running water? But yet a lot of this money is going to end up going to the high populated chapters that already have access to running water. And that was the main focus. And when you see a lot of those videos on YouTube that Congress eventually viewed and observed, a lot of those videos are done in Western and Eastern, and all of those locations that don't have access to running water. As of today, there's still those same areas that don't have access to water. But yet we still want to address those high populated chapter areas that have access to running water. And I say this because you know you've heard me really spill out the beans of my community in Ganado. Ganado has 3 wells. At one point there was only 1. And that 1 well could not reach the capacity to pump water anymore. I have many homes in Kitachi, summit areas, that don't have running water. Where the water begins to run, where the water starts to go to Ganado Lake. Those 2 additional water wells provide services, water, all the way to the southwestern region of the Navajo Nation, past Delicon. And then moving on into Whitecomb, moving on into Nazlini area, Chinle area. That's where a lot of our water is going. But yet, there's quite a bit of homes in Ganado, in Kitachi, that still don't have access to running water. And so that was the reason why I voted red on this bathroom renovation, because we need to get those bathroom additions addressed to get water line projects situated to get water to those homes. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable James. So at this time, I'm going to give the floor back over to our sponsor.
Thank you, Speaker Curley. Thank you, members of the 25th Navajo Nation Council, for your questions and your comments to legislation 001424. And again, thank you to Chairman Vince James for your continued advocacy for all of our family members who don't have running water. It is pertinent to our livelihood that we do have running water. This legislation does have its intent, again, is to increase the ability for these dollars in Section 11 to allow for, as it says on page 3, to increase the expenditure categories, which includes category 5.5, decentralized wastewater, and that's 5.3, and then 5.5 is the other sewer infrastructure. So again, that's a part of this legislation's language. So thank you again, Chairman Vince James. We're going to go to the next few delegates that I heard questions from was Delegate Yanito. Delegate Yanito, I believe Mr. Begay did give you a head nod, but I'll give some time over to Mr. Begay to expand upon that answer. We also had a comment from Delegate Norman Begay, and that's actually a comment about the what it means to enforce ADA compliance all across these bathroom additions, which is right. It will be expensive, it will be costly, and we have to think about how far we're stretching our dollar. The Division of Community Development has taken that into its analysis, and I believe that's why there is a enforcement on what the Division of Community Development can recommend for services for our district. So I know Division of Community Development is continuing to develop that list and what that expenditure, how much each, or what the cost breakdown is going to look like. And as that continues to move forward, we can hold the Division of Community Development accountable. The division, at the end of the day, I know that we want the confirmation from NECA, but NECA is a subcontractor. NECA is contracted by the Navajo Nation to produce these results. So the accountability, where we need to hold the entity accountable, is the Division of Community Development to ensure that they produce bathroom renovations, bathroom additions, and bathroom upgrades. So again, to go back to the enabling legislation, the Division of Community Development is the administrator of FRF dollars for these purposes. So again, it is confirming from the Division of Community Development is who we need to hear that from. And if because the Division of Community Development, they produce the scope of work that NECA will produce. So it's really the authors here that we need to talk to. But I wanted to go back to the discussion between upgrades and renovations. I know we wanted some legal interpretation. The Division of Community Development sat down with the Department of Justice and also the Office of Legislative Counsel was a part of that discussion to ensure that the Nabiki'iyatiat work session recommendations of the term upgrades was a part of this legislation. So I'll yield some time over to, I believe, Ms. Kristen Lau was a part of that conversation, and also Ms. Belzowski. But I could also yield some time over to Ms. Khan or Ms. Khan, would you like to give some time over to Ms. Lau? To give some background to the questions that the council delegates are asking about the term bathroom upgrades that the Division of Community Development has identified through the work session, and how that is a part of the language here that's presented before the council. So I will give some time over to Ms. Belzowski or to Ms. Lowell, Speaker Curley.
All right, thank you, Honorable Parish. We will have Ms. Belzowski answer the questions both to the meaning of both upgrades and renovations.
Thank you, Delegate Parrish. So in regards to the language in the legislation, when I had spoke with DCD regarding the request for an amendment, they had said that their original request to include upgrades was they didn't know that the Amendment 1 had already been passed and approved by NABI. Upon review of Amendment 1 that NABI had already passed and accepted, in reviewing it, they believe that the language that was already approved by council in Amendment 1 will allow them the flexibility to conduct renovations and upgrades as needed for bathroom additions. So therefore, they withdrew the request to add the word upgrades, because in the field of construction, upgrades and improvements, they really mean the same thing. So in order to be as clear as possible and not duplicative, they didn't feel it was necessary to add the additional word upgrades, since upgrades, when you're speaking in the construction context, is already included in the word improvements. So in this case, less is more. The word improvements within the legislation that was already approved by this council would suffice to allow them to be able to do the work that they're looking to do for these bathroom renovations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Belzowski. Honorable Parish.
Thank you, Speaker Curley. Thank you, Ms. Belzowski. I believe that does answer the heart of a few of my colleagues' questions, but I will yield some time over to Mr. Begay to respond to some of the details to the Division of Community Development.
Thank you, Delegate Parrish. So with Delegate Yanito, yes, we are still accepting more names. You can always send me a list of names from, it can be one list for one chapter, another list for another, and I can do my research on my end, and all you will have to do is just inform me about, again, if this legislation passed, it's either a bathroom renovation or a bathroom addition. Just keep in mind that our bathroom addition as of now, each homeowner has to go through the IHS process. So it's going to be a lot more lenient to get on the renovation list. But again, it's going to have to be on a case by case after we conduct an assessment and determine what it is that a homeowner is needing. So again, to answer your question, yes, we are still accepting names in your region. And then to Delegate Nez, as far as the commitment from NECA, again, NECA is our contractor for DCD under Section 11, and we are the oversight, and DCD does hold a contract with NECA. So as far as, is it going to be their commitment? Yes, it will be, and it will also be DCD's commitment to conduct these bathroom renovations. Hopefully that answers your question, and I believe that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Begay. Speaker Curley, that concludes our responses.
Thank you, Honorable Parrish. And colleagues, I'm going to go back to reserved time. We have Honorable Crotty with 2 minutes and 4 seconds. (203). Next, we do have Honorable Simpson with 2 minutes and 13 seconds. Next, Chair Brenda Jesus with 1 minute and 15 seconds. Point of privilege raised by Honorable James.
Again, Speaker, members of council, presenters, audience, I raise this point of privilege to Rule 16 of our council rules, Section B. I have not received the listing of those that are in need of bathroom renovation. I have not received that. And at this point, I'd like to add on to that is how many homes out there still need bathroom additions? How many homes out there don't have access to running water? Can we get that listing provided to us as well? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable James. That is a second request here to the sponsor and also DCD. Honorable Parrish, Mr. Begay.
Thank you, Speaker Curley. I will defer the time over to Division of Community Development to respond to the point of privilege raised by Chairman Vince James.
All right, thank you, Delegate Parrish. So Delegate James, yes, I will send you that list. Just keep in mind, when the list was sent over to me, it was just scanned. So it's either I will have to print it out and cover up the names, or I have to individually just input all of the names into an Excel worksheet. So, but I can get that list over to you. Hopefully by the end of today. Hopefully that works. All right, thank you.
Mr. Begay, just a suggestion, if there are names, you can just label any of your scanned copies as confidential, and then so that can be a client privilege document that are to our delegates, and that cannot be forwarded outside our colleagues here. So there's also that option. Honorable James, is that okay with your request for the end of the day? If not, then we can do a 1 hour recess to get that documentation. Honorable James.
Thank you, Speaker. With that, I'll wait for the listing. Again, Mr. Begay, you were addressed that you can also indicate confidential on the listing, that way you can get it to us immediately, so we could avoid the 1 hour recess as well. But that be my first request was that, and then the second request is how many homes out there do not have running water and that need the bathroom addition to get water line projects started, is my second request. Thank you.
Mr. Begay?
Okay, well, I can just indicate that the list that I am going to send to you guys on the email is confidential, and I can send that list over to you in a couple of minutes. And so, and then as far as how many homeowners still need a bathroom addition, I do know that it's still over 300 plus, but because of the equal distribution clause for each delegate, I am unable to move forward with more bathroom additions. If we still had the 150 million, we could address a lot of those issues, but because it was decreased down to 50, I am unable to move forward with more bathroom additions. And right now, like in the regions to where nothing is being moved, I do know that most of the homeowners are just requesting for a bathroom renovation. But again, I will send that list over to you in a couple of minutes, sir. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Begay. And colleagues, so I'm going to go back to reserve times. We do have Honorable Brenda Jesus with 1 minute and 17 seconds.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker, and also good morning to my colleagues of the 25th Navajo Nation Council. And I'd just like to thank Shadeja, Honorable Parrish, and also the team from Division of Community Development for this modification to this intent of bathroom additions. And one thing I just want to add is I am in support of the amendment to this legislation. Yesterday morning, I was up in Pine Springs, Arizona, and visited some families up there, and we do have a lot of failed septic system, if not water line, where the septic tanks have actually collapsed, them being installed 20, 25 years ago. So I was trying to come up with a game plan as to how I can best, bring this forward to IHS or NECA. But I'm glad that we're going to have additional funds to try to mediate this issue for a lot of our constituents. So I am currently collecting names, and I will have more names added. So just to let you know, Mr. Begay, Ryan, and thank you again for all you do there with the ARPA projects under DED, and continue to look to your direction for on how to best build out to these projects so that we could try to get these infrastructure needs out to our people.
Thank you, Honorable Chair Jesus. Then going next to reserve time, Honorable Dr. Andy Nez with 50 seconds.
Thank you, Speaker. This is my third time asking this question, and this is in the contract, the existing contract, should this legislation pass, will that have to go through the 164 process? Because we are on a strict timeline, that's what I need clarity on. Thank you. I reserve my time.
Reserve time of 34 seconds. Going next, Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton with 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Thank you, Speaker. So last year, I sat out for 2 full days. Granted, it wasn't the full days because I think it was like from 9 to 3. And I collected names. There was an announcement made on the radio for KNDN. And I sat out for 2 days, and people signed up for, bathroom additions or bathroom renovations because my chapter didn't properly collect names. And so during that time, just the 2 days, and this is not the entire Northern Agency, but just in those 2 days, we collected 331 names. And I just now forwarded that to CPMD. when I first collected those names, I forwarded it to you guys. I re-forwarded it again when I was asking for these renovations, because I know at least in my community, a lot more people, were asking for the renovations. And I understand where Maynela's coming from with the bathroom additions that need to be put in place. But even with the document that was sent to us, the PowerPoint that was sent to us last week, it does state within the PowerPoint that most people are requesting for renovation as opposed to addition. And so that was presented to us at the ARPA work session last week. I appreciate.
Thank you, Chair Eugenia Charles Newton, for that question. Then going next, Honorable Claw with 2 minutes and 21 seconds.
Thank you, Speaker. So one of the things that I do want to hear as well is a question that Honorable Nez presented, and then also yesterday when we had the report section, BIA, and this has hindered a lot of our families. We have some that have an existing structure prior to 2016, but yet they are hindered from getting their home site, and we were hoping that these programmatic agreements would be in place. But as you heard yesterday, that was challenged by BIA. So I'm sure there would be more homes that would be allowed to apply for the services, but because of that, we have not moved forward. So I'm making a request to our legislative council to conduct a follow-up on that particular home site amendment so that we can move families and their applications forward. And I will go ahead and wait for the additional information that was requested by Shanella Honorable Vince James, as I too have requested to see how many people in Chinle have requested for an upgrade on bathrooms. And then also I'm waiting for the amendment to be drafted. I'll reserve the rest of my time. Thank you.
Reserve time of 1:05. Then going next to Honorable Yanito with 4 minutes and 19 seconds.
I'm gonna go ahead and pass on my time to whoever wants my time reserved. Okay, Amber.
Yield time of 4 minutes and 11 seconds to Chair Karate.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, because on yielding time, you can't make an amendment, but I do have an amendment coming up. Colleagues, I did email that to all of you. Please review that document, as our attempt here is with the approval of the amendment to include bathroom renovations and other areas. We know that your district will see more needs, so we want to make the equitable distribution. Right now, while I have some time, I just want to say FRF office is working with confirming numbers that programs would not be able to meet the November 1st deadline. And so they're verifying numbers, and speaker staff is helping to make sure that we can create that amendment so that we meet the needs of our not only bathroom additions, but the bathroom renovations. I appreciate the request for how many individuals have requested assistance, and that's why we need to go back to the original legislation of CJN 2922. The FRF office, we're paying staff. The FRF office is supposed to put everything on this website so that you can, oh, I don't need them to pay attention. I'm talking to colleagues here, mostly talking to the people, but the CJN 2922 Delegate James, they're supposed to have a website that we're supposed to get on and have this information. Someone is getting paid to do this work. And so we need to keep them accountable. And what I was thinking last night is the FRF office is under executive, and there may be a conflict then. And I think colleagues, and I would make the argument in terms of how we move forward to say if FRF should come under legislative so that we get the monitoring and the reporting that we need across the board with this $800 million. Because if ARPA with their deadlines cannot meet the needs of our constituents, then that's when we need to plan out, what are we gonna do with the remaining 521? What are we gonna do with the UUFB? And do this master planning so that community members who need help getting access to water, which is our #1 priority. Let me tell you, Shiaj left, and he's made it public, so I feel comfortable. He's running for state office because when COVID happened, it hit his family hard. He lives less than a mile off the road in Northern Agency. He lost his mom because everybody had to use mom's house for electricity and water, and all of the surrounding children, all of the kids, and they lost their matriarch because they didn't have access to water and electricity. So I know there's a misnomer that in these higher populations, everyone is served. It's not true, because in Chinle, like Delegate Eugene So lives right in Chinle and didn't have running water or electricity. And so I think our goal as leadership is we want to support one another. And that's why we're asking these critical questions. And I want to continue to say our program should let every delegate, at this point, we should know who needs water, where they're at in the process, who needs electricity, where they're at in the process. And that's how we're gonna properly plan, working collectively. You know, it's with staff, it's with our LDAs, what training is needed, and it's the NQAs that need to give us that information. It's the DCDs that need to give us that information. And that's why we need that project management to help delegates, because we're not seeing that in executive. We have to figure out through legislative, and if it's through Speaker's office, I'll support that. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Crotty. And then going next to reserve time, we have Honorable Simpson with 2 minutes and 13 seconds.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, members of the 25th Council, guests, good afternoon. Okay, Shadeja, Madam Chair, Parrish, Cat, Mr. Brigade Cat, Mr. K, thank you. As my little sister stated there, that we're trying to expend ARPA funds that are still ARPA. And we have work sessions, and we have been asking how do we don't want 1 cent to go back to the federal government, and I totally agree with that. And this is one way to go beyond a bathroom addition that's in this legislation to include bathroom upgrade or renovation. And I guarantee you, I know there's going to be an attempt to give more money for a bathroom addition. The reason being is I want to support that amendment. The reason being is right now that a lot of my 8 chapter I represent, it's not bathroom additions. It's bathroom renovation or upgrade. And a lot of these bathroom additions were built back probably late 60s or early 70s. And we have grandpa and grandma not utilizing that facilities that are in their homes because they're in non-working conditions now. So I know if there's additional funds added, additional ARPA funds added to this amount for each region, I know that my chapter, a lot of will cover those bathroom additions, bathroom renovation and bathroom upgrades. So I support this legislation, and we need to support that because again, we are telling the government, expend all this money. We do not want to send one cent back to the federal government. So I urge my colleagues to support this legislation. If there's an amendment to it, I'll also support that too. So thank you, Madam Speaker and members of the council.
Thank you, Honorable Simpson. And I'll turn it back over to the sponsor, Honorable Parrish.
Thank you, Speaker Curley, and thank you, members of the 25th Navajo Nation Council, for your comments and questions. I appreciate, to start off, the sentiments from Chairwoman Brenda Jesus. I know the Resource and Development Committee is working hard on ensuring that the process is consolidated and streamlined. So I do commend the Resource and Development Committee for their progress in streamlining the home site amendments. And I think a big part of that is making sure that the public information gets sent out to our chapters and to our people, that they're aware of this new process. So I know the Land Department, the Fish and Wildlife, and everyone involved is very busy with the public information sessions. I'll go to the question raised by Council Delegate Dr. Andy Nez. We can have the Department of Justice directly answer that question. To the Department of Justice, Council Delegate Dr. Andy Nez asked if the contract modification would have to go through the 164 process once more. Speaker Curley, I'll yield the time over to Department of Justice, and then I'll continue on answering questions from the council delegates.
Thank you, Honorable Parrish and Ms. Belzowski.
Thank you, Delegate Nez. Because this would be a change in the contract scope of work, where right now the scope of work just says they're doing new bathroom additions, because we would be adding renovations to the scope of work, we would have to put it through the 164 process. However, that won't change the contract, the fact this money has been obligated. So, and I did want to note that Treasury guidelines do allow us some flexibility to change scopes of work even past December of 2024, as long as the contract stays in effect and the money is obligated and used for as long as the money will continue to be obligated under the contract. So the money will stay obligated, we'll just tweak the scope of work to add renovations to it. Thank you. And that will have to go through the 164 process. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Belzowski. And back to Honorable Parrish.
Thank you, Speaker Curley. And then to Honorable Dr. Andy Nez, I hope that's the response that you were looking for to answer that question. We are going to go next to Council Delegate Shauna Ann Cly. I know she raised the concern about the public information, and I'll allow some time to Division of Community Development to respond to any of those comments or questions that they may have taken notes on Delegate Claw's time. And then to Chairwoman Amber Knez-Bakrati, thank you, Shadif, for raising those concerns. I too share those concerns, and today I know there will be I believe a few amendments offered on this legislation that will continue to address the expenditure of these FRF dollars. This is a huge I could actually give some time over to the controller to update the Navajo Nation Council on the expenditure of FRF funds, because this legislation supports the expenditure, the drawdown of these funds. So to give a real-time snapshot of where we are in spending down these FRF dollars, the controller reports directly to the United States Treasury on how much we're spending down, and a part of those reports is how the legislation moves. So the United States Treasury is interested in how we as lawmakers continue to support the expenditure of these dollars, and this legislation will support the drawdown of more dollars. So I'll give some time over to Controller McCabe to expand on the expenditure of FRF dollars, and then I believe that will address some of also Council Delegate Danny Simpson's questions and comments as well. So Speaker, I'd yield some time over to Controller McCabe.
Controller?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Parrish, Speaker Curley, members of the 25th Navajo Nation Council. So I apologize, I don't have actual numbers available, but I can make some general comments on where the Navajo Nation stands with expenditure rates on ARPA funds. Yesterday I mentioned calls that I've had with the United States Treasury. One in particular, the last one I had was 6 to 8 weeks ago, I can't remember, but there were, what we did is we went over the expenditure rate of Navajo Nation funds as reported through the Treasury portal. right now, it can be said that the expenditure rate has been low, and it remains low. I can tell you that the housing efforts have ramped up, and I know work orders are starting to come through for the CHID allocations and the veterans. I do know that Jason Johns and his team is continuing to push forward. Just a quick recap, if you all recall that the remaining big pots of ARPA money left to be spent are the housing money in CHID and the Veterans and Navajo Hopi Land Commission. Then there's a pot of money left to be spent through NTUA water projects and wastewater treatment plant projects. There are also a very large amount of money through Department of Water Resources with non-NTUA water projects. And some of his money does flow through NTUA, but we separated those out. And then there's still left over the E911 project, and then Daltex with some vehicle purchases. A lot of that, I know the E911 project is starting to move as far as encumbrances. Since that is a lot, keep in mind the NTUA project in particular, and even E911 are done through, well, NTUA for sure is done through an SRA. So the Navajo Nation sends that money to NTUA to administer on my behalf. So that expenditure rate on NTUA side is actually about 50%. I think we still owe them 50% of their drawdown on a significant amount that's left over with them. However, the housing money up until this month really has been a slow process, but I do know that those projects are starting to move forward, and work orders are starting to be issued. IDIQs have been signed, and those projects are starting to get off the ground. There has been the discussion, I know, with Jason John's shop about his expenditure rate and maybe what he's going to possibly revert back to the Navajo Nation for reallocation. The other big one really, again, is the E911. As we've discussed, that was done through an agreement. I have seen contracts and encumbrances move forward on that one, but numbers are encumbered, but still expenditures need to be made. So the only other one really that is remaining is Daltex, and I don't think there's really any movement on that one, but that was a smaller number left over from ARPA, roughly $2 million. So it's starting to ramp up, shouldn't it die? But again, we're up against the deadlines, and these questions are definitely ones that need to be answered. And so that's what I can comment on. And again, I apologize, I wasn't prepared with actual numbers, but certainly that's roughly where we're at.
Thank you, Controller McCabe. Thank you, Speaker Curley. Colleagues, that is a short recap from the Controller on how critical our critical status of where we are in expending these FRF dollars. Again, this legislation expands the usage of this category, or this section of the legislation, to include bathroom renovations. This legislation also supports the development of jobs in our communities. I know that the Division of Community Development is still verifying their lists. I sent an email out to the Navajo Nation Council with a preliminary listing from Northern Agency, sections of Northern Agency, and the Division of Community Development is continuing to work with our regions to ensure that these lists are the constituents on the list are verified. And I state that this is still in a verification process because initially this Section 11 of CJY 2922 was for bathroom additions. So the bathroom addition list had to be verified with IHS and NECA and the Division of Community Development to create the list of where they're at now. Further recommendations can be made for bathroom additions, and the usage of bathroom renovations is also in discussion. But colleagues, changing or allowing for more usage of these FRF dollars allows us, one, to spend down the dollars, but it also allows us to create new jobs in our communities and to really take a look at how we can continue to partner with our our entities like the Division of Community Development to ensure that these services get met. So we're taking a look at making sure that now we're kind of pivoting to say, all right, let's continue this discussion about improving bathroom additions across the Navajo Nation and how we can continue to maximize these dollars. So I just wanted to kind of gather some of the, wrap up some of the questions in one response. Thank you, Speaker Curley. That concludes the response.
Thank you, Honorable Parrish. And reminder to our guests, I know that lunch is being served. We are still in middle of our agenda and through debate, so if you can keep the noises down. And we also have room in the conference rooms in the speaker's office if you would like to have lunch there or have any other conversation. So that is an option for all of you. So if we can still keep the noise down inside conversations, either outside or in the conference rooms. So thank you. And we do have new in queue, Honorable Ricky Ness, 5 minutes to the main motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, honorable members of the 25th Council. Madam Chair Parrish, certainly appreciate this legislation that's before Council. As I was reviewing the list from 6 of my chapters, I have 3 from Burnham chapter requesting renovation. I have 22 from Hogback, and 2 of those are bathroom additions. 20 of them are renovations. Adonai only has 3, San Juan only has 1, Upper Fruitland has 15 renovations. I have a total of 44 people that are asking for renovations and additions. As I was reviewing the legislation that was passed, the resolution CJN 29-22, page 5 of 28 at the top, it says, DCD has met with Navajo Nation chapters individually and collectively on more than 50 occasions to discuss NNFR matters. 50 times DCD has gone out to the chapters. That's what it's saying here on the legislation. And we're still lacking people to really fill in these spots here. I know I'm getting text messages, and I think for all the chapters out there, you need to update some of these lists. I know my chapters, I know you're listening. You have to provide these lists. So certainly appreciate this, and Ashi Nashol Jishko El Chodadi, so that's all I want to say at this time. Thank you. I'll reserve the rest of my time.
Reserve time of 3 minutes. Going next, Honorable Stephen Arvizo, 5 minutes to the main motion.
Madam Speaker, this is going to come off Delegate Nez's question. The listing, Nigi, because my chapters, none of them were contacted. They don't know how many bathrooms are in the area, how many are completed. They don't even know who are getting these bathroom additions. And our chapters lay at the local level. Through the CHR, some of them. So I don't understand how they were, and I understand that this was done by DCD, what was created by, the client listing was created by DCD and the Office of Health and Engineer under IHS. So especially renovations, Ziggy, those you need the local chapters to really give you guys a list. And it just, I don't understand how Kodo 50 times, Ninigi, I kind of don't believe that, because my chapters were never consulted with these projects, and they should be involved in this project. Madam Speaker, reserve my time.
Reserve time at 3:34. And we're going to give it back to the sponsor here, Honorable Parrish.
Thank you, Speaker Curley, and thank you, members of the 25th Navajo Nation Council, Honorable Rick Nez, and also Honorable Stephen Arvizo for your questions. Those were specifically to the listing to the bathroom renovations and additions. So, Speaker, I will yield the time over to Mr. Begay to explain the Division of Community Development's process of verifying the listings.
Well, thank you, Delegate Parrish. And to Delegate Ricky Nez, so as far as the listing, the one that Delegate Parrish had just sent out to all of the council delegates here, so all those names were pretty much, it was placed on hold only because even at this time, we are only doing a bathroom addition under Section 11. I do know I have been asking, I have been asked, where's my list? But as far as what we can operate on, still as of now, it's just for the request of a bathroom addition. So if I were to tell a chapter, can you give me a list for a bathroom renovation without without myself having it on a contract or in concrete, like I would just be doing a false advertisement. So hopefully if this legislation does get passed, I will be able to then ask chapters if they have a list for applicants that are requesting for a bathroom renovation. But just keep in mind, it's only going to be for certain regions, for certain delegates that are not over their allocated amount. So even if this legislation does pass, the bathroom renovation is only going to be conducted in certain areas. And so I think that's where there are some recommendations. If we do get more funding under Section 11, and then we can reach out to all chapters across the nation. But as of now, it's only going to be in certain regions. So as of now, I have been in contact with my team at DCD, and just having them also put together on the list of names. And again, just keep in mind, I cannot move on the bathroom renovation just yet, and so I don't want to get anybody's hopes up and stating that we are doing a bathroom renovation now. And then also for Delegate Arvizo, so today we also had a bathroom addition meeting with one of your chapters to move forward with 8 individuals. We are in contact with the Gallup IHS from getting names from them as far as the bathroom addition. And again, you know, if this legislation does pass, and then I can reach back out to all of your chapters and request for a bathroom renovation list. And as far as going back to CJ in 2922, where it states we met with the chapters about 50 times, I do know that the legislation was created 2 to 3 years ago, so hopefully they did, but I just know that was before my time. And rest assured, you know, we do plan on meeting with all of the chapters across the nation again, not just on Section 11, but also to meet with them about the transition with the RRR projects, or what used to be the Section 3 projects. Even today, we met with Delegate Azaret, or who used to be delegate. We actually met with all of his chapters today right before I came to council, and even after I leave, I'll be meeting with Carl Slater's chapters after this. So we are always open to scheduling all of your chapters at DCD or at INDOT. We are currently scheduling meetings left and right. So if we haven't met with your chapters, just please reach out to myself or to our director, Mr. Mitchell, and we can sit down with your chapters. So we will get to everybody's chapters eventually. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Begay, for those responses. And colleagues, we don't have anybody in queue, but we will go back to reserve time. We do have reserve time by Chair Crotty of 2 minutes and 3 seconds.
Speaker, I'll need to reserve. I'm waiting for an amendment. If Legislative Council can give us a timeline, we may need a recess. Thank you. I'll reserve my time.
It will require, there's still collaboration with FRF Speaker's Office and OLC. So we will need at least about 45 minutes, or if an hour is sufficient. Honorable Crotty.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to ask colleagues if we could recess for 1 hour to allow for the amendment. Thank you.
Point of privilege raised by Honorable Chair James.
Again, I call this point of privilege to Rule 16 of our council rules. This question will go to legal counsel. Legal counsel, will you actually have the amendment ready within an hour? Because I don't want to hear, oh, we need additional 10 minutes, we need additional 30 minutes, or we're still working on it. Will you have this amendment completed within an hour or an hour? My point of privilege. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you for that point of privilege, Honorable James. And going over to our legal Office of Legal Counsel.
Thank you, Speaker. Chair James, I am waiting for information from the FRF office, and so I cannot affirmatively state the amendment will be done in 1 hour. Thank you, Speaker.
So FRF, where are they at? I don't know where FRF is at. So I'm going to have staff check with FRF office. I believe they're in the South Conference room working on that amendment. Point of privilege raised by Honorable James.
Thank you again. Again, this will go to legal counsel. Can you correct the council if we move forward with tabling this legislation and move it to the end of the agenda? Will this legislation die? Can we get confirmation on this legislation, legal counsel? Thank you.
Okay, Honorable James, I'm going to go back to our legal counsel, Ms. Khan.
Once here. Madam Speaker, has this legislation been tabled once at the council? At council? Okay, so if it's January 25th, it was tabled once. If it gets tabled again, then January 23rd, it was tabled once. If it's tabled again, then the legislation is no longer viable. If it's tabled now, it is it will have been exceeded the number of times to be tabled and no longer be a viable legislation.
Great, thank you, Honorable James. And with that, colleagues, I'm going to have us recess for 1 hour. So I know we did have lunch as well, and we do have FRF in the office working on that exhibit. So, colleagues, I don't see any opposition for recess, and we will recess here at 12:46, and we will reconvene at 1:46 p.m. Yeah. Okay, there's a request on the floor for a possible presentation. If there is anyone who is with our organization on voting. I know they were here earlier this morning, but I don't know if they're still here with us. All right, so we can just forward that information to our colleagues. On the east side, we do have our former First Lady, Rosalind Zaw, and also to our special guests. So we will put the timer clock here for 1 minute, and then feel free to visit the South Conference Room. We do have some voter information as well. Thank you. Colleagues and guests, we are in recess, so we will have a presentation. Mr. Joseph Hernandez, who is with one of our local voting organizations, and then we'll have him introduce himself and also present some of the findings that they would like to share.
Madam Speaker, members of the 24th, 25th Navajo Nation Council.
Just pause, Mr. Hernandez. So, colleagues, there was a request for a presentation. So, we are in recess setting. If you do have conversations, feel free to take those outside the chambers or in a conference room. Mr. Hernandez, you can proceed with your announcement and presentations.
Thank you. Relatives and those watching online, Joseph Hernandez, Nake Bashichi, Ashin Deche, Nake Deshanella. I am from the community of Tokon'a. Also is where the rattlesnake oil fields are located at. I grew up in that community. It's just west of Shiprock. I currently am working as the Indigenous Energy Organizer for the nonprofit organization called NAVA. We're based out of Albuquerque, but we do have an office in Farmington. We work in New Mexico with all 23 tribes, pueblos, and nations. And through our NAVA hat, we are doing a Get Out the Vote campaign for this upcoming general election on November 5th. And this campaign is called Snag the Vote. I also want to acknowledge those that came with me from from my community. Shache Willie Johnson, he's sitting in the back. He's a former Navajo Nation Council delegate from Red Valley. So he's here with me. Thank you. And it's so important that we understand what this election means for all of us, especially in San Juan County, where I want to acknowledge the persistence of, the work that the Navajo Nation Council made to make sure that our voting rights are not taken away, and that was a case that was settled, through federal court, and everybody across the nation is watching, especially how the voting turnout is in San Juan County, and right now in New Mexico. I believe I was looking at the numbers earlier today. We've had over just above 196,000 people, registered voters who voted early, and that's something part of this campaign that my nonprofit is working on is to vote early. We're urging people to vote early, and we're also through New Mexico Voting Rights Act, which will be implemented with this election, ensuring that all of our relatives have access to vote, and that one of those provisions in New Mexico is same-day voter registration. We, and they're also, in addition to that, ensuring that we can have a voting location at each chapter house. So there's numerous provisions to the New Mexico Voting Rights Act, including for Native American communities. And so if you would like, we do have that information on our website, nava.org, and we are going across through numerous communities, and we will be at the Almoro Theater tonight with our MC guest, James June, who will also help push out a Get Out the Vote initiative, and you guys are all welcome to join us. But more importantly, we want to make sure that everybody is informed and educated about their right to get out and vote. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Chair Crotty also going to share an announcement on voting.
Oh, thank you, colleagues, and those who are on the line and listening. I do want to stress that Apache County is looking for poll observers for all of the chapters in Apache County. So the Sovereign Land Poll Observer Program recruits, trains, and deploys poll observers, which are watchers, to every election day polling location in the Navajo Nation. Please, we'll put a post on how you can contact them. There is a stipend, so complete poll observer training offered by the voter protection team. They're gonna have a training tonight at 7 o'clock, or you can do Venmo, all this talk about money, and then you're credentialed by the county party chair. What I want to mention is that this is a stipend position, so if you can maybe allow your constituents to know, I believe if they serve half a day, it's a stipend of $150, and if they're able to observe the full day, it's $250. So Speaker, I'll forward this to your staff if we could help as a Navajo Nation to get out the vote. And I appreciate Shamayaje Ms. Zah, who was here as one of our most active and experienced get out the vote, and how important it is for Navajo Nation. especially council, as we look to prohibit uranium transportation. We're going to have to secure that part of our territory, and we need strong congressional leadership to respect Navajo Nation. Thank you, Speaker. Oh, one last thing for the New Mexico vote. There is a House bill, and there's approximately funding there to help support senior centers. So if you're on the New Mexico side, please go out and vote for our elders so that they could get access to those funds. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Crotty, and to our colleagues and presenters voting. So that is very important information. So we will be posting some of those announcements on our Facebook page, so you can reach out and see how you can register, and also finding your polling places so we can share that information on our social media pages. So thank you, Honorable Crotty. And colleagues, we still have about 50 minutes on the board for recess. Oh, just for announcement purposes, we did get Madam Vice President a birthday cake, so that is being shared here in the chambers.